And everybody thought it kinda sad when they found Louise in her room. They'd always put her down below their kind. Still some cried when she died this afternoon. Good night, Louise, good night. The wind, sorry, it goes back to C. The wind is blowing cold tonight. So good night, Louise, good night.
(1751) on the north coast of Maine. Every day about the middle of the morning I would drop whatever it was I was doing and walk purposefully away from my cabin down the path toward the sound of the crashing sea. Seated with my back against a gnarled tree high on a bluff overlooking the wild Atlantic, I would gaze out to the horizon and then up and out into the sky. My anticipation rose as the ecstasy welled within me. Presently, my eyelids closed, my head fell forward, and I was released. Looking back, I could see the body of a man seated against a gnarled tree. And as the picture drops away below me, the body falls over in deep sleep. Now the shoreline begins to define itself. A jagged line of froth separates the deep blue of the ocean from the deep green of the forest. Suddenly I am surrounded by thick, cold, damp gray mist. And just as suddenly I break out into the high, sparkling, bright blue sky. Now the entire eastern seaboard is laid below me, from Florida to Canada, to South America, to Greenland, to the South Pole, to the North Pole, and there, dropping away below me the size of a golf ball, is the multicolored sphere of the earth. Now my release is complete, and I am set free to move among the elements of the universe. There, my fingertip, is the red planet Mars. There is Venus, the size of a marble. The dark planet Pluto revolves in my hand. Ah, there is my old friend the sun. And here's my favorite. Every time I come up here, I take Saturn out of her orbit and spin the ring in the opposite direction, and then put her back. And there, stretching out before me, looking like a giant megaphone reaching into other galaxies, is the Milky Way. And I use it for yelling. Every time I come up here, just before I leave, I make a new planet and heave it into the firmament. Now the roaring starts. Softly at first, but swiftly gaining in volume and intensity, until roaring is everything, and I am snapped back. I wake up, lying on my side on a bluff overlooking the Atlantic. I get up, refreshed and invigorated, and go back to my cabin. I would like to make a confession at this point, though it is rather embarrassing. Now, you know and I know that my trips into space are just that, flights of fancy. But I must confess that the more I felt free to rummage about the universe, the more I began to believe that at one point I had created all this, and was now totally responsible for the control and care of my entire universe. So strong was my belief that I decided to test it by performing what is commonly referred to here on Earth as a miracle. So the next day, I walked down the path. Only this time I didn't stop at the gnarled tree. I continued down the bluff until I was standing on the beach at the water's edge. I looked out over the wave-capped sea to the horizon and said, "Ocean, part!" And just as I expected, the waves rolled back to reveal a narrow path extending out as far as the eye can see. I ran out along the sandy bottom, out about 2 miles, until looking back I could no longer see the shore. 2 giant walls of water raised on either side of me, 2 magnificent aquariums. I looked up past the walls of water to the strip of blue sky above and said, "I don't believe it!" And the giant walls of water collapsed and buried me in the bottom of the ocean. I must get back now. But before I go, I want to leave you with this. Whatever you have seen or heard, it's true. Whatever you think you have seen or heard, that too is real. It's all true.
They all said Louise was not half bad. It was written on the walls and window shades, and how she'd act, the little girl, the deceiver, don't believe her, that's her trade. Sometimes a bottle of perfume, flowers and maybe some lace. Men brought Louise 10-cent trinkets. Their intentions were easily traced. Everybody thought it kinda sad when they found Louise in a room. They'd all put her down below their kind. Still some cried when she died this afternoon. Louise rode home on the mail train. Somewhere to the south I heard them say, it's too bad it ended so ugly. It's too bad she had to go that way. Ah, but the wind is blowing cold tonight. Good night, Louise, good night. Yes, and the wind is blowing cold tonight. Good night, Louise. Good night. I'd like to thank you up in the balcony there, too. I can see you.